The evening was unusually quiet. Officer Daniel, a middle-aged policeman with tired eyes and a reputation for being strict but fair, was on his routine patrol. His job rarely surprised him anymore. After 20 years on the force, he thought he had seen it all. That was until a dog appeared out of nowhere, a skinny, scruffy German shepherd with ribs poking through its dull fur jumped in front of Daniel's car, barking frantically. Daniel slammed on the brakes, his heart racing. "Get out of the way, mutt," he muttered, reaching for his radio. But the dog didn't move. Instead, it barked louder, circling the car as if begging him to follow. Annoyed but curious, Daniel stepped out. "What's your problem, boy?" The dog whined, then took off down a narrow alley, stopping every few steps to bark and check if Daniel was following. Something about the desperation in its eyes pulled Daniel forward. Against his better judgment, he followed. What he saw at the end of that alley would haunt him forever. There, behind a row of dumpsters, was a little girl, no older than 7. She was sitting on the cold ground, hugging her knees, shivering, her face streaked with dirt and dried tears. The dog ran to her, licking her face protectively. Daniel froze. His chest tightened as memories of his own daughter, Emily, who had died in a car crash years ago, came flooding back. She would have been around the same age as this girl. "Hey, sweetheart," he said softly, kneeling down. "It's okay. I'm here." But the girl didn't answer. Her lips trembled, her eyes wide with terror. She clung to the dog like it was her only lifeline. Daniel noticed bruises on her arms. Old ones, fresh ones. His stomach churned. "Who did this to you?" he whispered, but the girl buried her face in the dog's fur. Then Daniel saw it, a small backpack beside her, filled with clothes that were far too small and worn out. A name tag was stitched to it. Lila. Daniel gently carried Lila into his patrol car. The dog jumped into the back seat without hesitation, refusing to leave her side. At the station, social services were called. A doctor examined Lila, confirming what Daniel feared. She had been neglected, possibly abused. But when a social worker tried to separate her from the dog, Lila screamed in terror. The dog growled so fiercely that everyone stepped back. "She won't let go of him?" Daniel explained, his voice tight. "Let them stay together." And so the dog was allowed to remain. That night, Daniel couldn't sleep. Lila's haunted eyes followed him everywhere. He felt an ache he hadn't felt in years, the ache of losing his daughter, now mingled with a desperate urge to protect this child. The next morning, something unexpected happened. Layla finally spoke. "Don't let him find me." Daniel's blood ran cold. "Who?" "My father." Records revealed that Lila's father was a known criminal with a history of violence, currently out on parole. Her mother had abandoned her years ago, leaving Lila in his care. Neighbors had reported screaming and crying from the house, but no one acted. The pieces fell into place. Layla must have run away, and the dog, perhaps once her father's, had chosen to protect her instead of returning to him. But then came the shocking part. The father had already reported her missing. He claimed she had been kidnapped. Now the system was forcing Daniel to hand her back. Every instinct in him screamed no. Daniel begged his superiors to reconsider, but without hard evidence of abuse, their hands were tied. That evening, he drove Lila and the dog to the father's house. The girl's grip on his hand was like iron. Tears streamed down her face. "Please don't make me go back," she whispered. Daniel's heart shattered. "I'll come check on you. I promise." The father, a tall, menacing man with cold eyes, greeted them at the door. He smiled too widely when he saw Lila. "Thank God, officer. I was so worried." But Daniel noticed the way his hand dug painfully into Lila's shoulder, the way she flinched. The dog growled, its fur standing on end. Daniel clenched his fists. He wanted to arrest the man right there, but he had no proof. 2 nights later, Daniel's phone buzzed. It was an anonymous message. Attached was a shaky video clip. In it, Lila's father was screaming at her, throwing things, while she cowered in the corner. The dog stood in front of her, barking furiously, taking the blows meant for her. Daniel's jaw tightened. Whoever sent this Maybe a neighbor had given him what he needed. He rushed to the house with backup. What they found inside was chaos. Furniture overturned, blood on the floor, the father gone, and Lila missing. Panic surged through Daniel's veins. They searched the neighborhood until finally the dog appeared again, barking, leading them toward the abandoned train yard at the edge of town. There, in a darkened warehouse, they found the father dragging Lila by the arm. "Let her go!" Daniel roared, his gun drawn. The father sneered. "She's mine. You don't get to take her away." Lila screamed. The dog lunged. In the chaos, a gunshot rang out. Daniel froze. For a moment, he thought Lila had been hit. But then he saw the father clutching his leg, collapsing to the ground. The dog had bitten his arm, forcing him to drop the weapon. Daniel rushed to Lila, scooping her into his arms. She clung to him, sobbing. "You're safe now," he whispered, tears streaming down his face. But as relief washed over him, Daniel noticed the dog lying on the ground, bleeding from a bullet wound. "No, no, no, no," Daniel cried, pressing his hands to the wound. "Stay with me, boy," Lila screamed, hugging the dog. "Don't let him die. Please." The ambulance arrived. They rushed the dog to an emergency vet. For hours, Daniel and Lila waited, holding each other, praying. Finally, the vet emerged, eyes solemn. "He made it. Barely, but he'll need time to heal." Lila burst into tears of relief. Daniel felt his knees go weak. With the video evidence and Daniel's testimony, Layla's father was sentenced to prison. Social services wanted to place Lila in foster care, but she clung to Daniel and the dog, refusing to let go. Daniel fought for custody. At the hearing, he stood before the judge, voice trembling. "I lost my daughter years ago. I thought I'd never feel that kind of love again. But this little girl, she needs me. And truthfully, I need her too." The judge studied him for a long moment, then nodded. Custody granted. Lila sobbed with joy, throwing her arms around Daniel's neck. The dog wagged its tail weakly, finally safe. For the first time in years, Daniel smiled through tears. His family was whole again.